Again, thank you all for joining us this evening for our webinar all about financial aid from free money to federal and institutional aid. My name is Jonathan Sparling with College Well. One of the great things about working here at College Well, sponsors of Private College 529, is the relationships that we have with so many experts across both the higher education industry as well as financial planners who are dedicated, among other things, in their practice to educate families all about financial aid, the intricacies of FAFSA and some other forms, and also talking about scholarships. And so we are pleased to welcome back to our education series. We've done a few sessions with Ann before. Ann Garcia. Ann is a certified financial planner. She's a college financing expert, among other things, author of How to Pay for College, as well as the author of the College Financial Lady blog, and has dozens of years of experience as a financial advisor and owns Independent Progressive Advisors herself, and covers a lot with, obviously, college financing. And so she's going to lead our conversation tonight and tell you also about some really interesting new online course that she has developed. So, Ann, thank you again for joining and sharing your knowledge with us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. As Jonathan mentioned, I'm a certified financial planner and author of How to Pay for College. What I'm gonna do today is I want to just talk you through, because I'm also PowerPoint years old, I'm gonna just talk you through some basics about how scholarships work, the different types of scholarships that are out there, and then open it up for questions. I do want to make sure that we have plenty of time for your questions because everyone's situation is unique, and that's really what we want to solve for. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. And yeah, so about me, I'm a certified financial planner, a partner at Independent Progressive Advisors in Portland, Oregon, where we serve, we can say, as we say, families with competing financial objectives, and usually that is retirement and college. My website is howtopayforcollege.com, where I have tons and tons of college planning content that's available for free. And I literally wrote the book on how to pay for college. But more importantly, I'm a mom of two kids, twins, who graduated debt-free from college in the spring of 2023, and they're now out in the world and doing their own things. We are a family of champagne tastes and beer budgets. So my kids, as their college budget, had basically in-state tuition. Um, and and we got really creative about looking for scholarships and figuring out what we could do, with the end result being that my daughter attended the world's most expensive private university, the University of Chicago, and my son went out of state to the University of Arizona, and we still were able to meet our budget. And just as we did, so can you. I hope that one of your takeaways from tonight's session is that you have more choices than you might think you do. So, with that being said, let's dig into the world of scholarships. There's some great news about scholarships. First of all, every college offers scholarships. Secondly, every student is eligible for scholarships. Now, the bad news is that not every college offers scholarships to every student. Some more good news, it's really easy to apply for scholarships. Your college application plus your FAFSA and the CSS profile, if it's required, are your application for most of the scholarships that colleges offer. There's an important point about all of this, though, which is that since not every college offers scholarships to every student, students who want scholarships need to apply to colleges that offer the types of scholarships that they are eligible for. And to that point, there are three different types of scholarships. There is financial aid, there's institutional merit, and there are outside scholarships. So financial aid is scholarships that are designed to meet the difference between a family's ability to pay, as calculated by the FAFSA and CSS profile, and the cost of attendance at a college. Institutional merit scholarships are just scholarships that colleges use to attract the students that they want to bring in. And finally, the outside scholarships, those are scholarships that are offered by someone other than the college itself. And any student can find those, and those can be used at any college. So let's dig a little bit further into these scholarships. Need-based financial aid. Those are scholarships, grants, and they can also be loans and work study that are packaged together to fill the gap between the cost of attendance at a college and the student's expected family contribution or student aid index as calculated by the FAFSA and the CSS profile. Colleges that offer need-based financial aid can combine their own institutional funds, which are scholarships and grants, with federal and state funds. And those can be grants like the Pell Grant, they can be state grants, but they can also be work study and student loans to build up that package. At the vast majority of colleges, if you have need-based financial aid, that package is recalculated every year. So every year you refile the FAFSA and the profile, and you get a new financial aid package based on your status in that year. A really important point about need-based financial aid is this: not all colleges will meet financial need, and even less will meet 100% of financial need through grants. Now, the good news for you as a parent or as a student who's shopping around trying to figure this out is every college is required to have a tool on its website called a net price calculator. And a net price calculator allows you to type your financial information, sometimes academic information, in, and it calculates, it tells you what students like you pay to attend that college currently. So you can see as you look around what is out there. Now, also important about this process is that your eligibility for financial aid is calculated by the FAFSA and the CSS profile, but financial aid is awarded and allocated by the college, and they can choose whether or not they offer aid at all. They can choose whether that aid package includes student loans and work study, or whether it's just scholarships and grants. They can choose, whether they meet 100% of your need or some smaller portion. So that's need-based scholarships. The biggest part of it comes from the college, but it can combine federal and state funds as well. The next type of scholarships is merit scholarships, and these are tuition discounts that colleges offer to attract the students that they want to enroll. We often think of merit scholarships as athletic scholarships, but really it's the mathletes who clean up on these scholarships. The vast majority of institutional merit scholarships go to good students, based on grades and test scores. So test scores, even though most schools are test optional, tests can be very beneficial in getting merit scholarships. Of course, there are also merit scholarships for talents like athletics, music, dance, kind of anything else. My son actually had a scholarship for playing on a competitive video games team for his college. Whatever the college deems desirable to themselves, that is who gets merit scholarships if the college offers merit scholarships. Typically, when a college does offer merit scholarships, they award those scholarships to students who are in the top 20 to 25% academically relative to the population of students at that school. So you do not have to be a 4.6 GPA to get a merit scholarship. My son was maybe a 3.5 GPA, and he got a large merit scholarship at the college that he attended. So again, it's about being a good student relative to the population at the school. A couple of websites, and I apologize, I'm losing my voice. A couple of websites that are great for researching merit scholarships: College Data and College Navigator. They actually show, you can look up a college and they have a tab called Financials, where you can see what percent of financial need gets met, and among students without financial need, what percent got a merit scholarship and what that looked like. Now, people talk a lot about private colleges offering merit scholarships. Public colleges tend to be very generous with merit scholarships as well. And the beauty of that is many of them award those scholarships automatically. So if your GPA is above a certain level, sometimes test scores as well. If you're above that level, you will automatically get that. And that's something that you can find out for your state schools before your kid even starts high school. One of the great things about merit scholarships is, unlike financial aid, which is recalculated every year based on that year's FAFSA, merit scholarships are typically guaranteed for all 4 years as long as renewal criteria are met. And that's typically a minimum GPA and a minimum course load. So one of the really nice things about merit scholarships is you have a really clear picture of what your college cost is going to be for all 4 years. So just a quick comparison of the two. Merit scholarship means the student has attributes the college wants to attract, whether that's academics, whether it's skills and talent, whether it's diversity. And to that point, diversity can mean a lot of things. Oftentimes for small liberal arts colleges, diversity is students who live in different places. Smaller colleges love to say they have students from all 50 states. So if you're looking at private liberal arts colleges, the ones that are likely to offer you a bigger merit scholarship may not be the ones close to home. They may be the ones 1 or 2 states over. Merit scholarships are scholarships and grants only, although sometimes they can include other perks like preferred housing or faculty mentors or research grants, or other resources like that. And this is the college's own money. It's from their endowment, it's from private donors, it's from whatever pools of money of their own money that they have to tap into. So they have a lot of discretion in how they award those scholarships. Need-based scholarships, on the other hand, that just means that the student aid index, as calculated by the FAFSA or the CSS profile, is lower than the cost of attendance, and the college is going to offer them some money to cover that gap. Need-based aid can be grants, but it can also be student loans and work study. Those funds, again, can come from the school, the state, or the federal government. I had mentioned net price calculators. I think these are one of your best tools as you go about your college search. It's an opportunity for you to get an estimate of your cost to attend a specific college. So this is really different from what the FAFSA says you can pay, is not necessarily what the college says we're going to charge you. But every college is required to have one. It's usually on their financial aid page. But if you can't find it, just Google the college's name and net price calculator. What net price calculators show you is what students like you pay to attend the college this year. They are not a guarantee that you're going to get that scholarship, but they are a good, and in particular with the changes to the FAFSA over the last couple of years, they're not always super accurate. But you can at least get a good sense of how generous the college is relative to students like you. Net price calculators also only show gift aid. So a financial aid package could include loans and work study, but that's not going to show up in the net price calculator. And that can be really helpful in evaluating differences between colleges and how they package scholarships. And then the other thing with net price calculators, some of them include merit scholarships. So if they ask about your GPA, they probably include merit scholarships. They're probably going to include merit scholarships. But it's always worth checking back to the college's website to see if there are additional merit scholarships that you can maybe apply for. That third type of scholarships is outside scholarships, and these are offered by entities other than the college. Rotary offers scholarships like this. Your high school, college, and career center probably has loads of scholarships available, but employers offer them, civic organizations offer them. One of the things about outside scholarships is, in many cases, they are added into the financial aid formula as student income. And so an outside scholarship can reduce other grant aid that your student is getting or other elements of their financial aid package by 50 cents on the dollar. The thing with outside scholarships is, I would say, don't overlook them, but also don't overestimate them. Think of them more as the tool that expands your college budget by a little bit, that maybe means your student doesn't have to take out a student loan. They are typically not the thing that makes a difference between a $12,000 a year budget and a $90,000 a year college. I would also say, as you look for these outside scholarships, there are big websites like FastWeb and College Board that have gajillions of scholarships out there. They also have gajillions of applicants. I think the best place to look for outside scholarships is closer to home. Look with your employer, look at your high school's college and career center, ask teachers, players, ask coaches what scholarships they know about, because those are you're going to find scholarships that have much smaller applicant pools, so your likelihood of getting them is a lot higher. My daughter, for example, found a terrific scholarship that her high school computer science teacher had recommended that she applied for, and it was $5,000 a year for all 4 years, so $20,000 that she got just by networking with teachers and asking about things like that. Your high school, college, and career center is going to have scholarships that are only open to students at your school or even subsets of your school. Our high school had a scholarship for the tennis team. There are like 12 people on the tennis team. So your odds are much better of getting that one than, say, the duct tape prom dress scholarship that you'll see on FastWeb. Can't talk about scholarships and financial aid without talking about the FAFSA. So what is it? It's the free application for federal student aid, and that is the application for all federal aid, including student loans and Parent Plus loans. Many schools also use it to calculate eligibility for their own institutional aid. The data that you enter into the FAFSA calculates a number called your student aid index. It used to be called your expected family contribution, but that number was changed because a lot of families expected that their expected family contribution was what they were going to pay for college, and then what they ended up paying was quite a bit different. And so they felt like it could easily be renamed. This year, the FAFSA is supposed to be available on December 1st. Normally they try to have it available on October 1st. Last year was an exception as well. There were big changes to the FAFSA last year, which you may or may not have heard about. But this year, December 1st, going forward, should be October 1st again. You do not have to file it on the first day it's available. Schools have their own due dates that they set for it. And so it's really more important that you just get it done by the earliest due date for your school. Now, you will file the FAFSA every year for every student. And the reason for that is you can't take out a student loan without it. You will not be eligible for work study without it. And you probably won't be considered for any other financial aid if you don't file it. There's a lot of misperceptions about the FAFSA. I think the most important one is this: the FAFSA is not the tooth fairy. Just doing well on the FAFSA, having a low student aid index, does not guarantee that you will get scholarships at the college of your choice. The FAFSA is a tool that allows colleges to evaluate all students' ability to pay on a consistent set of metrics. Every school uses it, but very few schools meet all of students' financial need through grants. The FAFSA also guarantees you access to federal student aid programs and many state aid programs. So federal programs are Direct Student Loan, Parent Plus Loan, Work Study, Pell Grant, and various other grant programs that you have. Your state probably has its own programs, has its own programs for that as well. There's an additional financial aid form called the CSS profile that's used by about 250 private schools, and I believe by most of the schools in the private college 529 plan. And we'll talk a little bit about that too. But the FAFSA looks at 4 elements to calculate your student aid index. It's income and assets for the parent and income and assets for the student. The biggest piece of that by far is the parent's income. And if you want to do a quick back of the envelope calculation, your student aid index will be somewhere between 1/4 and 1/3 of your income, which is a shocking and horrifying number for most people. So what is that parent income? Well, it's the total income from your tax return. So it's not your adjusted gross income. It's your tax return income. You add back untaxed income on your tax return. That includes contributions to an IRA or a self-employed retirement plan. It includes untaxed distributions from things like Roth IRAs. The CSS profile, in addition, adds back all your untaxed income from your W-2, so your 401k and 403b contributions. You do, in both forms, get subtractions for your family size and for your tax liability, but each incremental dollar of income is assessed at 47% of its value, which means that $1,000 of income is going to raise your student aid index by $470. And that is why parent income is the biggest piece of all of this. The next piece is parent assets. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention, parent income is what's called prior year. When you file the FAFSA or the profile, you will be using your most recently completed federal tax return. So if you're filing it this fall in 2024, you're going to use 2023's taxes. That may sound like prior year. Prior is because you're filing for 2025 school year. Anyway, just think of it as you're going to use your most recently completed tax return. The next big piece of the FAFSA is the parent's asset, and this is all of your non-retirement assets. So it's the student's 529 if you own it. It is not their siblings' 529s. It's not 529s that grandparents or aunts and uncles or family friends own. If you have a taxable investment account, that is included as an asset. Your bank account, your savings account are all part of it. Investment properties, if you own a second home, all of those are parent assets. Now, the good news about all of this is all of your assets only count at 5.64% of their value in the formula. So $1,000 of assets only increases your ability to pay by $56. Student income and assets are the other piece of it. This tends to be a much smaller piece. Students get what's called an income protection allowance. Parents do too. For students, it's $11,500. So as long as your student didn't earn more than $11,500 in 2023, they don't have to report their income at all. What they do report though are their assets, and those are reported. Those are assessed at 20% of their value. So something to think about is when your student has a summer job and a current high high minimum wage, they could earn a lot of money, and that could be sitting in their bank account at the end of the summer when you go to file the FAFSA. So spending down some of that, moving it to their 529 if it's for college, contributing to a Roth IRA, all of those things are all things that you can do to get those assets off of the FAFSA. So just, quick summary, $1,000 can be a different thing depending on where it is on the FAFSA. If it's parent income, that increases your ability to pay by $470. Parent asset, $56. Student income, it could be $500, but it probably isn't. But a student asset is assessed at 20% of its value, so that would add $200 to your ability to pay. FAFSA planning, a lot of it has to do with when is the first time you look at all of this stuff. And so here's just kind of a roadmap. If you were a senior in high school this year, so senior in 2024, your income that you're going to use for your first FAFSA is your income from 2023, and that will go all the way through 2026. Your assets are reported on the day that you file the forms. So you'll report them in 2024, 2025, 2026, and 2027. And then you're eligible to claim the American Opportunity Tax Credit for 4 out of the 5 tax years that your student is in school. So income starts here in 2023. 2024, you're going to count your income and your assets, and going forward, it's going to be your income and your assets. There were some big changes to the FAFSA last year that made it just an absolute dumpster fire. But the nice thing is it's really simplified the FAFSA. So instead of the 926 questions it used to be, it's down to about 27 questions. So it's pretty quick and easy to file. If you filed it before, there are some changes you might want to be aware of. The first is it used to be that your expected family contribution was for the family. So it was divided among the college students in your family. The student aid index, same number, but it's just for the student. It is not divided among the college students in your family. For families who are divorced, it used to be that the parent with whom the student spent the most time filed the FAFSA. Now it's the parent who provides the most financial support. The FAFSA also now only uses income from your tax return. It doesn't look at your W-2s, so that's a real benefit for most people. It does now include a values of businesses and small businesses and farms as well. Now, the good news, a couple of good things, you no longer have to report, if the grandparents own a 529, you no longer have to report the distributions from that. You also don't report the value of the student's siblings' 529s on their FAFSA. There have been some other adjustments to the formula that for the most part have made it more favorable. The one place where it's less favorable is in adjusting for multiple siblings. The CSS profile does still account for multiple siblings, and colleges for on their own can account for that as well with their own institutional grants. So that CSS profile, it's used by a few more schools, and it uses a superset of FAFSA data. So everything that's on the FAFSA is on the profile as well, with some additional items. Your W-2 income, so your untaxed income that's on your W-2, things like your 401k contributions, that is all counted in the CSS profile. Gifts that you receive, it asks about those. It also asks about your home equity, insurance and annuities. So if that annuity sales guy tells you cash out your 529 and buy this annuity, it's better on the FAFSA. That may be, but it's not better on the CSS. It's not better on the CSS profile, and your 529 doesn't hurt you all that much anyway. You also report all of the 529s for which the student is the beneficiary, and you report siblings 529s and UTMAs. Students whose parents are divorced, both parents file the CSS profile, only one files the FAFSA. Now, the other really important thing about the CSS profile is that colleges have flexibility in how they use the data. So colleges always have flexibility in who they give financial aid to, but with the CSS profile, you know, some schools don't count the value of your home equity, or they cap it at a multiple of your income. They can add their own questions. So there's lots of gray areas with the CSS profile that are not gray with the FAFSA.